Hello, everyone. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle, along with Juan Williams, Eric Bowling, Dana Perino, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. Day 2 of the White House summit to counter violent extremism. President Obama just delivered remarks and addressed his administration's reluctance to connect religion to terror.
Leading up to this summit, there's been a fair amount of debate in the press and among pundits about the words we use to describe and frame this challenge. Al-Qaeda and ISIL and groups like it are desperate for legitimacy. They try to portray themselves as religious leaders, holy warriors in defense of Islam. We must never accept the premise that they put forward, because it is a lie. Nor should we grant these terrorists the religious legitimacy that they seek. They are not religious leaders, they're terrorists. No religion is responsible for terrorism. People are responsible for violence and terrorism.
State Department spokeswoman Marie Harp stunned a lot of people. All right, we're going to wait on that for a second. So let's get your remarks and comments to what President Obama just had to say.
Well, I mean, acknowledging terror without radical Islam is like blaming a hit and run on the car. It makes absolutely no sense. It's called Islamic State. It's not called terror state. And you can't win a battle if you do not identify who you're battling. The first step, as we always know in solving a problem, is admitting you have a problem. The problem here is terror denial. President Obama cannot accept the cause of this terror. He's a terror denialist, and it's all due to his Islamophobia. He has a fear of Islam. He should just admit it, come out with it, and then we can move on.
Yeah, but he doesn't seem that he's willing to do so. In fact, he's been consistent.
Well, he's in denial. He's a terror denialist.
He's in denial, but I think there's no cure is the problem, Dana, because he's consistent in his remarks that he will not name and state the word Islamic extremism.
So we've been round and round on this for a couple of months, and this is what I think the president and the American people are not quite communicating well, okay? What the president is trying to do is, I think it's understandable. He is saying we are not at war with people who are Muslim. We are at war, however, with people who call themselves part of the Islamic State. That's what the American people hear. So they're confused, and he seems to be caught up in what pundits think rather than articulating and leading us to why we should believe that he's got the right answer here. I understand what he's trying to do overall, but I also think that with changing circumstances on the ground and the absolute, as it was referred to, the genocide, the attempts of genocide of Christians and Jews by this group, they think of this as a religious war. They are fighting for their religion. That's what they think. That President Obama can say that's a lie, but that is, if you are a radical Muslim that decides to join up with ISIS, you actually think you are doing it for your religion. That's what they think. So we have to think like they do.
Okay, well, they're a little different from probably the majority of the people in their religion that sees that this is genocide that's happening, Eric.
So the speech started out just fine, in my opinion. He addressed why they refused to say Islamic terrorists or Islamic extremists. Okay, that's fine. You have your opinion. We have another opinion on whether you should be doing it or not. But then he kind of backed and filled into almost an apologetic mode to Muslims around the world. Not only Muslims in America, but Muslims around the world. He actually cited the 3 Muslim students that got shot. Like, bringing that up didn't seem the right place to do that, because the jury's still out whether that had anything to do with their faith or if it was over a parking spot. I'm not sure, don't know. Probably wasn't the place to do it.
Just like he brought up the Crusades and Christians.
But then it turned into something that I was just shaking I couldn't believe he did that. Marie Harf, after getting all the grief she got for saying that if we just understood the jihadists a little more, if we just provided them with economic and job opportunities, they might not be extremists. He went there with the same line of thought. Right now, while people are being burned, their organs are being harvested. We're sending 4,000 troops to Kuwait. 26 members of the coalition are right now in Saudi Arabia trying to figure out how to kill these guys. And President Obama spends a good amount of time talking about how we as a global community should offer more opportunities for underprivileged people. Like somehow, if we just fix the poverty problem in the world, there won't be violent extremism, there won't be terror anymore. It's ludicrous.
But poverty has nothing to do with it, because in fact, they've been able, many of these guys that have joined up and have been really, has responded to this call for jihad are well educated, some come from very good families. They're not hard up for jobs. They, in fact, love the jobs that they have on their resume builder, which is beheadings and burning people alive.
You know, I love mockery. That's why I come to visit. Because I think you guys are really mocking Marie Harf today, and now, by extension, President Obama. But I think that what's going on is really that President Obama spoke a very important truth. And again, I think what Dana said is on target. He's not speaking to us at this table. He's not speaking to the American people about this. He's speaking to the Muslim world, saying we do not have a war against Islam. We are sensitive. We are a nation that believes in religious tolerance and all the rest. And when it comes to what Marie Harf said specifically about jobs, I think she's saying there's a bigger picture. You can fight them militarily, and there's no doubt we are fighting. The United States of America has been fighting 7 months of airstrikes.
Yeah. But the point is, there is actual research, factual data that shows there's no connection between poverty and terror. If this was because if terror is caused by a lack of jobs, you can explain it away with Fort Hood. That was workplace violence. The guy had a job, and he still killed a bunch of people. Job or no job, radical Islamists kill people. And I agree with you. He is talking to a specific
in the name
audience.
Of religion,
he's talking to a specific audience. But he might want to talk to Americans. Right. He might want to look at us and go, you know, I get this.
I think we found common ground. I think that's exactly right. Somebody was saying to me the other day, I said, you know, if you're so smart, Juan, why doesn't he send 2 letters?
Yeah.
You can send 1 letter to the international Muslim community, but why can't you say anything to Americans who see directly in front of them that this is Islamic terror?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. All right, Juan.
I agree.
Well, that's rare. I don't know.
Juan, you can stay.
I can stay.
State Department spokeswoman Marie Harf stunned a lot of people, right? When she said, we have to help terrorists get jobs in order to win the war. Well, last night she went back on television to address her critics and accused them of being the ones who don't get it.
Longer term, we have to look at how we combat the conditions that can lead people to turn to extremism. If there are 10,000 men in a country who are willing to blow themselves up because of what that person says on the internet, that's much more dangerous. So how do you get at those 10,000 people? How do you get them not to pick up the AK-47 and instead do something more productive and positive with their life? Look, it might be too nuanced an argument for some.
Oh, are you related to Jonathan Gruber, and are we just too stupid? Too nuanced of an argument. Here's the SEAL who killed bin Laden.
The State Department, they're into diplomacy, and that's the kind of stuff they're going to say. Right now, I don't think we need diplomacy. We're going to need to use our military strategy. Right now, the people of ISIS, if you can call them people, really, they get paid to cut off heads, to crucify children, to sell slaves, and to cut off heads. And I don't think that, you know, a change in career path is what's going to stop them.
All right, Bowling, good point. Is this about jobs? Is it about poverty?
No.
I mean, they don't need an ISIS job fair, do they, at the local college campus?
Marie Harf had an opportunity to explain herself a little bit better, where she was coming from. I actually understand what the argument is. I get what she's coming. Just now is not the time. But for her to say,
doesn't that apply in Detroit, Bowling,
instead
of here?
For her to say, hold on, you guys just don't get it. It may be too nuanced for you small people, smaller minds, and not as smart as us. Let me give you a quick story. On the trading floor, I spent 18 years on the trading floor. We loved when those Harvard and Columbia graduates would come down to the trading floor. We just adored it because they spent the last 5 or 6 years in the books and not on the streets. They didn't know what was going on. We took all their little trust funds away from them and sent them back on their way. That's what this is. This is a little poli-sci major who somehow got a nice job in the State Department, is now speaking on behalf of the American people, saying it's all about jobs, not about terror. And if you don't get that, you're not smart enough. That's offensive and dangerous, by the way.
Well, she's part of that cabal, though. This is what they believe. The American apologists, that American exceptionalism, American greed, and lack of sharing opportunity with beheaders is the result now of what we're seeing in this jihad. I know you look quizzically at me now, Juan. Why is that?
Because I think she was saying that the people who went after her on the internet and who's made it seem as if the United States wasn't fighting a war, in addition to saying we have to address issues like poor governance in the Middle East, where you have all these dictators and mullahs and people who want to tell you everything. To me, this is a legitimate argument. I think Eric's right. I understand the argument. But if you want to, just focus on the fact that she said nuance,
but
this is where back. We're just making fun of her. But gosh, I think she did something.
It's such a weird thing when people make fun of people for. No one ever made fun of Sarah Palin for what she said.
Oh, is this payback?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
it is payback. I mean, she's as nuanced as a cartoon mallet. For her to even say that, to say people aren't as smart as she is, saying her calling somebody stupid is like the moon calling something round. I'm sorry, but every time you hear her, you cringe. What scares me is we're up again, and I said this before, probably the most cohesive caliphate attempt in a millennium. And you turn on the TV and you see that. You see a skit. It's a skit of pretenders. This is not a serious person who should be up there defending or talking about how we're going to defend ourselves. When you listen to her talk and you see a lot of these people in the White House, you feel like you're watching the Model UN or some weird camp show at Epcot Center. I don't even know what I'm saying.
I don't know that they would even hire her. Dana, what should she be saying?
Well, I think she should not.
She should not speak anymore. Perfect.
Now, this is my point, and this is just a little bit of advice. If the deputy spokesperson at the Department of State is the lead story for 3 days in a row, you have a serious problem. There are several people in the State Department, career Foreign Service officers, political appointees of some stature and Senate confirmed, who should be out trying to explain the president's policy. Instead, they have her go and do it, and I think she's got some good points, but I think when you are a spokesperson, you become the story. If the spokesperson is the story, you have got the formula wrong. So that's why I would just stop talking.
And that's why she didn't handle it.
Do you remember who the other spokesperson from the State Department was? I think it was Boko Haram, Jen Psaki, who held up a sign with a hashtag, Bring Back Our Girls. What are they doing? This is how they combat terrorism. Bring back our girls.
Choices.
And let's get jobs for terrorists.
They're an octopus extension of the administration, so this is what you get. So think about your choices.
Well, no, I think Dana's on target. I mean, obviously, if Marie Harf's the story, the administration's losing.
She's 100%.
But let me just say, I just think that the premise at this table is you got to have a military approach. And that's not going to win.
No. You have to have a strategy. And right now, the strategy that they have is symbolism. There's no substance here. There are hashtags. There are seminars.
Don't you think we're fighting?
There are pastries and ice water.
We're not fighting?
And what happened, Juan, to...
We're fighting
their whole re-election was based on the tide of war is receding and Al-Qaeda is on the run. Now, let's just take it a step further. The follow-up question to her is then, okay, so then what is the administration's plan to provide jobs?
Well, let's see. Let's take it a step further. Because former Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld addressed the ISIS threat on Fox News last night. He brought up history to remind Americans to recognize what's happening today.
It brings back to mind the period before World War II where people said, I didn't know, or I was just following orders, or it's random. But when you systematically kill Jews and kill Christians and say that's what you're doing, it's not random. It's purposeful. The only way you can deal with something like that is to put it up on the table, call it what it is, deal with it.
All right, Greg.
Well, just to finish my thought, tactics without a strategy, they're like musical instruments without a song. It's like a child banging a piano. That's why you get this feeling when you're listening to Harf. It's like you feel like the adults have left the room. And also, I will say this again, these are people who are victims of ocean privilege or practitioners of ocean privilege. They're not taking this seriously because it's way, way far away and it won't affect them. And this whole job thing was a distraction away from religion. ISIS has created more jobs than President Obama. Sadly, they're all shovel-ready.
Wow. Dana.
Kidding.
Nice.
My husband Peter was driving last night and listening to Fox News and listening to Greta's show. And he called me afterwards and he said, that interview with Rumsfeld was excellent. And I can see why. Now, some people bristled at his kind of plain talk. Okay? I like it.
I like it.
The American people like it. When you have academic speak that only speaks to a certain part of the population that understands because they understand nuance so much better than we all do. It is refreshing to hear someone say, here's the deal. We've got a problem. It is complex. Here's what we should do, and here's how we should back it up. period. Then people will follow. That's what leaders need to do, is be very clear so that they can get people to come along.
Yeah. We're picking up what he's putting down.
Very quickly, maybe that's the strategy. Maybe it's put Marie Harf up there, make her say something as ridiculous as that is, and everyone says, oh my gosh, Marie Harf, do you hear what she said? Instead of saying, we really don't have a strategy, and ISIS is winning.
You know,
I don't know if they're winning, by the way.
I
shouldn't say that.
I just want Jordan, the Saudis, the Arab Emirates, I want those guys to get involved. I think their people are getting killed now very publicly in the way that we've seen others targeted. You know, Secretary Rumsfeld talked about Christians and Jews. Muslims are getting killed. Where's the Muslim world in this fight?
I don't think that's fair.
I say that they're not.
But I'm saying that they are fighting. They are providing arms. They're providing money. They're providing the airstrikes. They're providing pirates.
With the
they should be on the front lines, not the United States.
The entire military of Jordan is 60,000 people. The entire military.
Right.
So what more could they do? They could put all 60,000 there. Then that's not enough.
But the point is,
they can get together.
Jordan isn't slacking. They're stepping
pipe
up,
dream.
including their king.
That is a pipe dream.
All right. Let's get along. Next on the 5, your 2016 update, including a big foreign policy speech today from Jeb Bush, who had some tough words for President Obama's global strategy. Stay tuned.